Hello, Atholwood Radio Group. I am super sad that we're not going to be able to be at this month's meeting because you all are talking about backpacks, and we are backpack people. We bring our backpacks everywhere. We exercise with them. So I want to still participate, and so we're making this video here to talk about some of our philosophy with backpack use. So the first rule I have for myself is to have a backpack and bring it everywhere with me. And so that means it needs to be not so big that I can't throw it in my truck or in a response vehicle, but also not so small that it's just useless and I can't pack enough stuff in it. Additionally, it needs to be comfortable enough that I'm willing to carry it. If you have a backpack that hurts to carry, then you're not going to bring it with you. So I prefer to have a waist belt and then load lifter straps up here on the shoulder straps. Really, most of the weight should be carried by your hips, and then your shoulders just exist to kind of help keep the whole backpack in place. So we're big fans of the Osprey brand of backpacks. I have the Stratos 34 liter. It seems to be just right in that Goldilocks zone, to borrow a phrase from my wife Kelsey here. How do you like yours? Yours is the 34 liter Sirrus?
Yep, I like mine a lot. It's big enough to hold what I need, but yet not too big that it's hurting my back.
Next principle I'd like to touch on is that your backpack is a highly personal thing. And I think that a bag should be tailored to fit the needs of the individual. So what works for me may not work best for you. Your goals, your physical capabilities, your skills might be completely different from mine, and so what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. I think if you've got somebody who's in your face telling you you have to carry something, that really tells you all you need to know about that person's character. So when people do that to me, I just thank them very kindly for their time, and I drive on with life. That also means that pre-built bug-out bags or whatever somebody's trying to sell me are just ride-out. There's no possible way that whatever they have put together is going to work best for me. And I'm not going to care about that bag as much as one that I have put together. I'm not going to have that knowledge of everything that's in it as much as if I build that pack myself. My next rule for myself is I organize my pack with quick access in mind for items that I need quickly or frequently. And that's going to be different for everybody.
What I need is different than what he needs. I need quick access to food and water for kids, and that's not what he's doing.
Yeah, and basically whatever I need is right and what she needs is wrong. So I also like to organize my pack with like items generally in the same location. I don't like having to dig through several different pockets to find like items. So all of my hygiene items are going to be pretty much together. All of my food is going to be pretty much together, with the exception of maybe I've got a couple granola bars or something in a pocket on the belt or something so I can grab them really quick. And lastly, this is a never-ending project. The project will never end. You're never going to be satisfied.
Never going to spend enough.
Never going to spend enough money to be fully satisfied with this. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing. That just gets you out there packing with it and practicing and seeing what works and what doesn't work, what's comfortable and what isn't. So don't feel bad at all if you never ever get to the right point where you feel just totally fine with everything. And in fact, the first backpack you buy probably isn't going to be the last backpack you buy. It's probably not even going to be the best backpack for you. So don't be afraid to try things out. It's kind of like buying a gun holster. That first gun holster, you're guaranteed that that's not going to meet your needs.
If the first cookie didn't satisfy you, go back and get, a dozen more. Until you find the right cookie.
And beware, there's a lot of bad information out there, especially here on YouTube. If somebody is telling you that they pack with 5 gallons of water and 15 or 20 pounds of HF radio equipment in one of these man packs, the person's probably lying to you. They probably don't carry any such thing. Or maybe they carry it from their Jeep to, their little lean-to tent 5 feet away. It's probably a fantasy that they've created just for a YouTube video. So don't feel bad about that if you don't stack up against these BS artists, because they can't even stack up against their own claims.
So when do you decide that the backpack's not the right backpack?
So I've carried a lot of garbage backpacks throughout my life. Very uncomfortable. Yeah, and it was more a decision driven by, I would say, frugality, but it's mostly because I'm a cheap bastard. Anyway, I think if you're at the point where you notice that you cringe to put your backpack on.
If you come up with lame excuses, oh, it won't work with this shirt. Probably not the
Sure,
right backpack.
you just coming up with reasons not to bring it places. I think that's time to start looking for a new backpack for yourself, something that's going to work a little better. And I know there's a lot of stores that will have knowledgeable people who can help size a backpack to you. I've also found YouTube videos to be really helpful in evaluating the different features of a backpack. I spent a few hours looking at videos, watching reviews on this backpack before I bought this one. I want to show you what I have in my backpack now, and we're going to cruise through this because backpack dump videos are totally boring. But I do want to show you where I currently am at with my Neverending backpack project and what I've chosen to carry, what I've decided is important to have with me during my career in the emergency services, and also just what I like to have with me being a backpack person. One thing I like to do with my pack is I like to stuff it full enough and cinch down the straps so that I don't have a lot of slop and wasted energy with backpack flopping around on my back, but I also like to have enough free space so that if I do have an unforeseen need or a unique need for a specific event like snow pants or an additional lunch item, I have that additional flexibility to throw in that extra gear. Now, if I get a rescue call up a trail and I have to go pick up a patient, I go through a very rapid decision-making process where a lot of this stuff gets thrown out. You know, my amateur radio equipment, it's not going up with me to get a patient typically because I need additional space to throw in medical gear for whatever I think I'm going into based on the information I have. I'll go through my pack from the outside in. Here you see my first aid kit affixed to the outside of the pack, and there's really no sense in going through the specific contents of this kit because whatever you carry for first aid supplies is going to be entirely dictated by your skill and knowledge level. Now, there's no Molle loops on the Osprey pack, so I just had to make do with carabiners and whatever else I could do to hook it on there. Also, the rain cover for this pack that it came with does not fit over this whole new setup, so I had to buy a little bit larger rain cover to make do. Rain gear goes on the outside of my pack for quick access, but also because it's not really something I want to stuff back into the main compartment of the pack after I'm done using it. The other side of my pack has my bear spray and my Gränsfors Bruks wildlife hatchet. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. I am very much a convert from knife religion to hatchet religion, and I have a lot of fun keeping my blades really sharp. The quick access pockets on the belt contain gloves, a knife, flashlight, a spare battery, and snacks to keep me going. I keep all my phone and battery charging equipment up front here because I end up using it a lot. People really don't plan out their emergencies very well, and they often end up having their emergency on a dead phone. And so I like to be able to charge their battery for them, and people really appreciate it. Now you can see here my headlamp was on, so I think that illustrates the importance of keeping spare batteries separate from your flashlights. But I've got a variety of cables to charge all types of phones. I've got those magnetic USB rechargeable battery rechargers, and I've got a big old battery bank. And that battery bank has two different ways to charge a phone. I can charge it by cable, or I found in one case my phone's charger port was full of water, and so after that I got a inductive charger capable battery bank. You see, I've got my hygiene kit. I've got some warm gloves. I've got a rag, a trowel for obvious reasons. I had a Glock shovel, but it ended up just being way too much. I had to make some trade-offs, and there's a warmer hat. For additional quick access up top, I've got some sunglasses here in a little soft case, and then bullfrog sunscreen / mosquito repellent. And even though this pack comes with a little toy whistle on the chest strap, I keep a Fox 40 whistle handy. It's very affordable and extremely loud. Now we can start on the contents of the main pouch. Here I've got a lightweight puffer jacket, and that consumes up a lot of that slop space I was talking about, and I can always drop this or wear it if I really need to. I have 1.5 liters of water in a hard bottle. I have a tarp and heavy-duty space blanket. I'll show you why in a minute. I've got another 1.5 liters in a soft drinking bladder. I've got tools, digital radio comms gear, and then some food. Additionally, I have stuff sacks containing clothing and a military poncho liner. And then lastly, I have a Therm-a-Rest. Unfortunately, food is just really bulky and I have difficulty carrying enough of it. This is probably not even enough food for 1 day's worth of hard work before I become a cranky medic. So I've got some fatty beef sticks. I've got some oatmeals. You can get those at North 40. I really like their selection there. I carry additionally some caffeine and some nicotine gum to help keep me going. Nicotine is really nice because it kind of suppresses the appetite. I've got an additional water bladder here in case I need to add more water into the system. And I got some vitamins. And additionally, I have my water purification devices in here. I've got some purification tablets and additionally one of those newer style of LifeStraws where you can attach a water bottle or that water bladder to it and force the water through rather than have to try to drink through that thing. Tools and fire starting supplies are rolled into one pouch here. I've got some storm matches, which are sure a lot of fun to use, but I definitely keep multiple methods of igniting a fire. There's a ferro rod. I've got some duct tape there, paracord. I've got another method of igniting a fire. I really like having this pruning saw. It makes quick work of limbs. I've got a replacement belt buckle for the pack, some earplugs in case I have to work around aircraft or equipment, a signal mirror, and a sighting compass. For fire starting supplies, I've got bicycle inner tube, which is a tenacious burner, some fat wood, and then some little squares of tin foil. Not for what people use it for now, but to keep my fire starting area up off the wet ground. Now here is my radio equipment, which I'm sure you were all waiting to see. I've got my Raspberry Pi, I've got a ICOM IC-V80, and then I've got spare batteries. I've got another device there that I can use to access that Raspberry Pi headlessly. I've got more batteries. I've got antennas. Here I've got this, I believe it's the RH205. I love this antenna. If I can actually get it out of the pouch, it is just amazing. Highly recommend. And then of course I've got the regular rubber ducky that doesn't work worth a damn. And of course I need lots of little tiny peripherals and accoutrements for the Raspberry Pi. And then there on the side of the pouch, I have all of the cables for the DigiRig. So I can interface that VHF radio there with the Raspberry Pi, and I can do digital comms when I'm out in the field. Now again, if I've got to shuck space to make room for medical gear, that thing's getting dropped. And then I'll just clip a VHF radio to my pocket, and that's really all I need. So here I've got a military surplus poncho liner that I squashed down into the stuff sack. And these are super lightweight, very affordable, highly recommended. They have a little bit of insulation in them, and I can use this to keep myself warm. Or if I've got to wrap a patient up for a litter carry out of a really tough situation, I'm not going to feel too bad about what happens to this because they're really not all that expensive. Additionally, I have a heavy-duty space blanket. One side is reflective, and the other side is like a tarp. These are marginally reusable, and I really like them. Additionally, I have an actual tarp. So I could wrap myself up in all of this in a ranger roll if I have to sleep somewhere, or I can just use it for patient extrication. And here I've got a Therm-a-Rest for insulation from the ground. And this is a recent addition. I learned a hard lesson last August when I went out on the flat fire. I thought it was going to be plenty warm in the middle of friggin' summer, but it was decidedly not. It was actually colder than Svalbard one day that I looked. So I've got merino wool, everything. I've got socks. I've got an entire complete base layer, and it's all kept dry and smashed down into this stuff sack. And so it's there when I need it. And oh boy, do you need it when you need it. Total weight of all my gear is just shy of 40 pounds, which is still less than what is required to qualify for a Wild and Fire red card.
Sometimes you just gotta go to the store and try a couple on just to see how it fits.
But don't buy them at the store because it's really expensive.
Yeah, go to Amazon or eBay and look for one.